Awesome. Okay, in lieu of Plinkers cards, I now printed out pieces of paper that have Plinkers cards. This is yours to keep. Okay, so take it with you today. I made that copy for you. Hi. So how this works with this is pretty straightforward. You're going to put this in your notebook that you're going to bring to class every day. Anytime there's a question, you're going to bust this thing out, and this is how you're going to answer questions. If you lose this, if you destroy this, if you vandalize this, it's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. But if you don't bring it to class, you can't answer the question, and you're going to lose out on those points. And that stuff is put into the grade book, so part of this is being responsible on your end of things. Okay?
Will you print out another one?
I will not.
Can we print out?
Absolutely. The copy to print this out has already been posted in Google Classroom. So no worries about that. You just gotta, it'll be on you then to take care of that. But I made your first copy for you. Take it with you. Do whatever you need to, but make sure that you're grabbing obviously the correct number version so you can have that. But that's how we're gonna do that. Just because my Plinkers cards got destroyed this year, like literally, like crazy. Okay, fuel delivery systems. This is what we're going to be kind of talking about. So again, get out your notebook, something to write on. Open up to a blank sheet of paper. In the upper right-hand corner, write your name and the date. Today is January 2nd, 2025. I need to practice writing that because otherwise I'm going to keep writing 24. You know what I mean, Trevor? Yeah. It's 2025. Crazy, right? It's going to be 2030 before you know it.
Don't even say that. Put at any level that.
That's alright. Time flies when you're having fun. Or you're just really old.
I could have just said something.
I appreciate that. Thank you for
I caught myself.
catching yourself. Alright, as you are getting out your notebooks and you are writing your first and last name and the date in the upper right hand corner, here are the ASE standards that we are going to discuss over the next 4 or 5-ish class periods. Okay? So ASE says that a high school student should be able to, or will be able to, by the end of this, be able to inspect the engine assembly for fuel, oil, coolant, and other leaks. Now, we've already done lubrication systems, so we've crossed off the oil part of that standard. We've talked about coolant systems, so we crossed that part of that standard off. So now what we have left is our fuel portion of that standard. So once we get through this, you'll be able to do that. Yeah? Sure thing. So that's standard A1, A4. Then our next standard, AAD1, a student will be able to identify fuel, air induction, and exhaust system components and configurations. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough time to be able to go through and look at the air induction side or the exhaust system side. So we're only going to be able to meet 1/3 of this standard because, again, we're going to be focusing in on that fuel components and configurations.
What if I have a number 1 place? This is the whole thing.
So what I need you to do now is I need you to come up with an essential question that you can write down at the top of your notebook that you may not know or necessarily understand right now about fuel system, components, configurations, or maybe even how to inspect fuel systems. So again, like everything, questions that we can ask are who, what, where, when, how, why. Okay, that's 6? Yeah. Who, what, when, where, how, why. If you start a sentence with those words, one of those words, you're going to have a question. And again, there's no invalid question here. This is based off of what you know you don't know, or maybe what you are curious to know. That has to do with these things on the screen. Keep in mind, Next week, Thursday, we're probably going to cycle back to the stuff that we've been going through, and you should be able to answer the question you're writing down. Okay, as part of your summary. Okay. So, it's me telling you whatever question that you're writing down now, you should be able to answer based off of what we're going to be going through. What are we going through? These things. Yeah.
How was your break yesterday?
My break was good. It was very restful. There was quite a few nights I actually got like 9 hours of sleep. I was like, wow, I haven't slept that well in a long time.
Get a deer over there.
Did I get a deer? I didn't
Kaden,
go
stop
hunting.
moving the tape. I told you. My grandpa got one and he made me drag it like 4 miles.
4 miles. Hey, that's good for you. Did he make you gut it out too?
No, he already had it got out.
Oh, well, that was easy.
I was laying in bed and then he called me and he's like,
Hey,
"Get out of here."
come drag this for me. That's a smart grandpa right there. Alright, guys, don't break my stuff.
I'm not breaking anything.
Yeah, don't.
It's not gonna break it. You act like you're running around jumping on it.
Questions?
Put your
I'm
tape
just concerned.
Put your tape.
Oh, no, I don't have a camera.
Back the way it belongs.
Here we go. Hold on a second.
It is.
My
That's how I came in.
Yeah, I already ended it.
Okay.
There you go. Question? Question? Need paper too? Okay. There we go. Question time. Alright guys, let's stop rearranging furniture.
It's Kaden. It's all. Look at him. Kaden's doing the whole thing. He started it.
Okay, but I'm ending it. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Now, before you start doing anything else, don't
this. Commotion.
don't draw anything yet. I wanna go through what you're gonna see on the screen here, so that way it's not like super crazy confusing. Because I only have a little bit of amount of real estate to show you this. Okay, and you obviously can draw this out as big as you want. Yeah.
So after finals, when our new quarter starts in semester, are we gonna do the slab or?
No, there's no lab associated with this.
We're not
I'm not gonna let you guys touch anything related to fuel on the car.
Why?
Obvious reasons, hopefully.
What do you mean obvious reasons?
Meaning you
I'd
can
probably blow myself up messing with fuel.
Exactly.
Guess I'm gonna drop a match in my thing. You think it'll blow up?
If it's completely full, no.
No, our house started on fire over break.
There's three.
Lawn started on fire.
There's three big groupings in our fuel delivery and fuel injection system. Okay? We always start with our fuel tank, that is our reservoir, our holding tank for our fuel.
Kid,
Fuel storage.
Stop, kid.
That's gonna have our fuel filler neck and our fuel tank. Okay? So that's where it starts.
How many gallons is that fuel thing?
It doesn't matter. Okay?
200.
Inside the fuel tank right here, although that might be hard to see, inside the fuel tank right here is our fuel sending unit. That's this. That's not listed here, but that's what it's called, the fuel sending unit. The fuel sending unit has a bunch of different components. One of those is our fuel pump and our fuel float. Okay? That fuel sending unit is going to send the fuel out of the tank through these lines. This line ends right here, but it picks up right here. They're disconnected, but they're, in normal scenarios, joined together right here. It goes along this fuel line through a fuel filter, and then it comes into this grouping of components. This is our fuel rail, okay, and the fuel rail is attached to our fuel injectors. In this case, 6 of them, because this is a V6. And the pressure inside our fuel rail is monitored by a fuel pressure regulator in this particular configuration. then the fuel in this configuration is going to then go back through the fuel line, obviously a different one, and it's going to return back to the fuel tank. Okay, I know that was a lot of drawing on there, but I wanted to kind of break down the path and what components that you are going to be encountering as that fuel is moving. The only thing that we didn't talk about was our evap canister. That's going to be part of our fuel storage system. It's mostly due to with our emission control system, but because it controls the emissions of our fuel, it's also part of our fuel storage system. Okay? And again, it's unimportant that you get the super detailed, just kind of get a shape on there and go, okay, this is what this is called. The names are more important. The components that are linked or grouped together is very important, more so than if they look good. And again, with note taking, the nice thing about this is the more you can doodle and draw and whatnot, instead of like writing down verbatim words and all this sort of stuff, the easier it is for you to keep up with me talking. It's also easier for you to potentially go back in later and look at and understand what you were actually trying to write down in your notes. Okay? Yes. Unfortunately, I was just running out of colors too when I was originally making this. This is not supposed to be the same purple as that. And the fuel lines are meant to be different shades of like pink. Yeah, I know.
You have so many colors.
Oh, the colors. If you're colorblind, I apologize. The best thing you can do is just close your eyes and imagine it in a different color.
Less philosophical.
Is it? Kind of crazy. Crazy, I tell you. Mm-hmm. I'll give you guys like a minute left, then I'm going to move on. Yeah, it's not art class, it's doodle time. If anyone's into Formula One, it's hammer time for those hammer time.
Getsky, I am doodling myself.
I should make up a little like theme song. Doodle, 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 it's doodle time today.
We should watch races in class. It
We
is
should
hot
take a
good.
field trip to Road America.
That'd be sick.
Getsky. Next time I see you on your iPad, I'm pulling out my Milwaukee pen knife with laser and I'm gonna sit there and laser you.
You should.
Why? Why should I?
I'm never on my phone in class.
Your iPad.
Yeah, the
I
iPad.
see you watching TikTok on there.
Oh, yeah,
on that
yeah,
big
yeah.
screen.
Man, there is no person in the United States that is more excited for the TikTok ban than I am.
Is that a real
TikTok I
thing?
use for education.
No, it ain't gonna happen.
It will happen. It's
Like,
supposed to happen,
haven't
what,
they said
January
this, like,
19th?
the past, like,
Yeah.
20-some years?
Whatever. I don't care. I'm not getting into any of that because it's not automotive related.
It's not gonna
It
happen.
is, kinda.
And if it does,
I
it's
see a lot
gonna be
of
news the
stuff
next
out there.
day.
It's true.
The only way it's gonna be saved is if somebody else buys it.
Correct.
Or
What's so
they
bad
stop.
about
Listen, I put in a bid for it. I
There's
put
a
$3.
lot- There's a
They haven't talked
lot
back
of,
to me yet.
like, opportunity for somebody
Like,
to buy that.
Instagram
Make a ton
Reels,
of money.
All right, here we go.
You can put a bid in for
TikTok, yeah, $3.
You can't search up Instagram.
Why can't you? Right? They could accept it.
I feel like if anything should be banned, it's
What?
Instagram.
Imagine Getsky taking over
Twitter,
TikTok.
Oh my goodness, that'd be
Yeah,
amazing.
Twitter should be banned. Twitter's pretty bad.
All right.
Even on most phones.
Acronyms and abbreviations. If you need to, open to a fresh sheet of paper, and because your drawing might be so glorious,
Oh,
that it takes
I
up
think he's talking about
more of your space than it needs to be. All right, EVAP. EVAP is short for evaporative emission control. And again, these acronyms are going to come up in the presentation over the several days that this is going to take. I'm not going to go in and necessarily explain each and every time it comes up because you're going to have these written down so you can reference back to them as needed. But we've already showed you the EVAP canister, and I already told you that the EVAP canister is part of our evaporative or I should say, your emissions control
We
system.
don't need emissions
So
control
there's
systems.
that. The laws say otherwise. FTP, that is our fuel tank pressure sensor. As you are aware, the sensor is what is monitoring, or it's like it's eyes and ears of the computer. And in this case, this sensor is monitoring how much pressure is in the fuel tank.
Yes, you know, you can go online and buy from a company in Canada. It's something called a delete kit.
PSI, pounds per square inch. You're probably familiar with this particular unit of measurement. If you've ever filled up your tires, you had to fill it up to a
PSI.
particular PSI. Okay, that's what we use in the United States as our measuring system for pressure. Right, Trevor?
Normal car tires give 40 psi.
How fast can you get pulled over going over the speed limit before you get your license?
What does that have to do with anything
Oh,
about
what?
PSI? GDI. GDI, gasoline direct injection.
Fast.
We're going to talk about GDI, and we're going to compare it to another type of injection system. MIL, multifunction indicator lamp, aka like your check engine light. Your check engine light is a MIL. There are other indicator lamps on your dash that will illuminate if there is a malfunction. Fun fact of the day that you don't need to write this down, but all mills are linked to your emissions.
Oh yeah.
Kind of crazy, huh? All about every single one has to deal
Why do
with
you need-
emissions.
Why do they matter? Why does the government care?
Why does the government care?
Well,
Because there's somebody that cares and decided to pass a law about it. That's the best I can tell you. Why are there speed limits? Why are they safety belts?
That's
Safety
different.
belts?
That's
You mean
different.
seatbelts?
No, I feel like speed limits
You don't-
actually like a safety thing.
You're right. It's an unnecessary evil, speed limits.
Isn't the Autobahn like?
Let's
one
go
of the
300
least-
miles an hour and slam into the back of
Well,
grandma
not
going
everyone's gonna be
15.
able to afford a fast car. So it's like not everyone's
Most
gonna be
You're
able
right,
to, like,
economics. And then high schoolers are complaining about how their buddies have a Bugatti
I
and
have
they
a
can go to
Bugatti.
school really fast.
It's
Even
red.
Nissan Altima.
All right, couple things
I got
here.
a Jeep.
As we begin explaining this,
Is it black and white room?
as we start explaining this, first and foremost, I want to let you guys understand this, that there are variations within our fuel systems. I'm going to attempt to the best of my ability and skills to differentiate these fuel systems and explain it to you in a way that you understand it without being super confused. Okay? So hang with me on this. The first distinction that we are going to make in our fuel systems is the difference between a return type system and a returnless type system. Just like our ignition system has a distributor type system and a distributorless type system. It also has a direct system, but that's three choices. I'm trying to link back to what we've already previously talked about. Okay? Obviously, a distributor system has a distributor, and a distributorless system does not. In our fuel system, we have a return type and a returnless type. We're going to talk about return type. What distinguishes a return type from maybe something else? Okay? Return type, it uses an electric fuel pump. Every system uses an electric fuel pump. It's going to deliver fuel under pressure to the injectors, and the pressure regulator is mounted on the fuel rail. That is one distinguishing factor. Okay? And again, I'll show you better pictures than what's currently on the screen. But the reason why it's called a return system is simply because the fuel is coming from the tank, the storage center, goes up to the front of the vehicle where the engine is at. Fuel is obviously used to spray it into the engine so we can get power. Any residual fuel is then returned back to the fuel tank for storage. So it's literally a circular system. Okay? My fuel rail, which is literally right up here, has a fuel pressure regulator attached to it. That fuel pressure regulator is literally monitoring the pressure inside these fuel rails. If there is excess pressure, it opens up and relieves that pressure and allows that extra gas that was pumped up there to return back to the fuel tank. Okay? Pretty straightforward. Nothing overly complicated. There are some distinctive disadvantages to this type of system in comparison to a returnless type system. And that is the reason why most modern day vehicles in 2025 has a returnless fuel system. Yeah, but not here. Okay.
Yeah, okay, I made it past like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I approved it like 10 minutes ago too.
You never said anything.
You never said anything to me.
Because I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, I appreciate
I
that.
was being a good Samaritan.
Now it's going to be whoever gets to hit the play button first.
Oh, I'm already going. Mine already started.
Wait, it says location full.
Carver.
Cause mine already
Yeah, now you gotta wait.
No! Wait, what if mine approves when he's in there?
Then you can go.
Okay.
All right, return type fuel system has a return line from the fuel tank back to the fuel tank.
So what's the last one return last?
Hey, bro.
Okay, Ben.
No, the last one we talked about in the previous slide, that's a return type system. This is just additional, it's the same information I just talked to you about. Okay, so again, just to emphasize this, here's my fuel tank.
Oh, yeah.
We have a fuel pump. If Rowan,
I was looking for my gift cards because these guys are flexing their gift cards.
yeah, no one cares about gift cards right now.
I do.
Man, I
They
got
shut me up.
Hi.
I got a Taco Bell, McDonald's.
Ben, put those away.
Walmart, Target.
Hi, we're never going to get through this stuff if you guys aren't going to be able to pay attention. Follow along. Fuel pump takes the fuel that's in the tank, pumps it up through a line. It's going to pass it through a fuel filter.
Where's the Harbor Freight?
Okay, then it's going to pump that into a fuel rail. Again, the pressure regulator is monitoring that pressure. Any excess residual fuel pressure returns back to the fuel tank. Yeah,
Did you go to Harbor Freight and get their
I did
30%
not.
off any single item?
I did not. I don't have any money right now to buy that stuff. Yeah.
I did.
How
I bought
often
it.
do you gotta replace your fuel filter?
What's that?
How often do you gotta replace?
That's a great question. Okay.
Oh, no.
Typically speaking, again, I want to link back to what we already know.
Beer bowl, I don't care.
For our lubrication system, whenever we change oil, we change the oil filter. Okay? Oil is much dirtier than our fuel is. Okay? Typically speaking, because it's going through the engine, it's picking up that debris. It's a cleaning agent to begin with, right? Along with lubrication. All right, so it's more apt to get full faster. The fuel filter does the same job as the oil filter, but now we're actually going to be filtering out our fuel, which is, by the way, much cleaner, typically speaking, than oil is. So we don't have to change it as often. Okay? It would really suck if you had to change your fuel filter every time you put gas in the car. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
But
you change it like
we
every
still
time when I do
we still don't want to have any kind of potential contamination or debris that could get into our fuel to get up to the fuel rail, fuel injectors, and into our engine. So we still need to filter it. Typically speaking, a fuel filter only needs to change maybe once every 100,000 miles. Okay? And I'm not going to kid you, it takes about 5 minutes to change these things out. Typically.
Some of them are really hard to get to.
Some of them are more challenging. We'll talk about where these fuel filters could potentially be located at. But if your fuel filter is in line with your fuel line, 5-10 minutes. Typically. It's super quick. You have to have the right tools though.
Yeah, you guys
Okay.
just get it off.
So about every 100,000 miles. Guess how often fuel filters get changed?
Not that often.
Never. I'll guarantee you, if you got a vehicle with 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 mile vehicle on it, there's a good likelihood that fuel filter has never been changed.
Mine only had about 100 and like at
Okay.
least 70,000 miles.
Right? So that might be a service that could be coming up. Now, here's the deal, right? Most people don't ever change their fuel filter out because they never notice problems. However, like an oil filter, that fuel filter could potentially be like clogged up, right? What's that gonna do to our fuel line pressure?
Less pressure.
It's gonna prevent that fuel from getting up to our engine. So that means we could have potential drivability issues, which might look like something is not functioning right on our vehicle. Hey, my battery's dying. Man, when I hit the gas, I don't have as much power as I had anymore. My engine's broken.
Hey, guys,
Could just be a bad fuel filter.
Jetsky,
Yes.
do you have to change them more in diesels? My brother has to change them a lot, but it's
Yeah, it's a little bit of different.
What?
But it's
What
the
a
race.
race. No. So
Like-
I'm not gonna get into diesel stuff too much in this
Yeah.
fuel.
Yeah, but like,
We're not gonna get into it.
Get in a high speed
Alright.
chase during my one shower.
Ooh, I'll join you.
Okay.
you just become FJ.
Let me just keep moving on from here. All right, returnless type system. So a return system returns the fuel that's not used back to the fuel tank. It's cylindrical. It's circular. A returnless system is an on-demand system that only puts as much fuel as required in order to get the job done for it to be consumed. Okay, there is no return line. All right, so that's kind of one of those things. It's on demand.
Well, it's just the gas.
Okay,
sitting there.
imagine for a second that you bought a 24 pack of water from Amazon and you subscribed and saved, but Amazon was monitoring how much water you drink every day, and it notices that you drink X amount of bottles of water in a day, and it can calculate when you are going to need new water, and it automatically ships you that new water. So as soon as you get done drinking the last bottle, that shipment is on the door, right? And all of a sudden you bring it in, hey, I got new water, and you never run out of water. You continuously drink it. No matter
Yeah, but
how much or how little water you drink, it always has a new fresh delivery on your doorstep as soon as you run out.
What if-
That's the idea behind on-demand returnless fuel system. Hey, the engine needs this amount of fuel, the fuel pump sends exactly what it needs, exactly when it needs it. Okay, how does it know that? Well, instead of having our fuel pressure regulator on the fuel rail as a way to react to too much pressure, we take that fuel pressure regulator and move it inside the gas tank next to our fuel pump, and now it can actually monitor it as it's needed. So as soon as it starts to drop pressure, it turns the fuel pump on, bringing that pressure back up to where it needs to be. If it's monitoring that it's over pressurizing, it'll turn the fuel pump off, and it keeps it as needed in the correct spot. So it's, instead of reactive, it's proactive. Okay? So again, that is a distinguishing factor. This is the reason why this is used more often than not on modern day vehicles. Okay, instead of a return type system. Okay, it's more efficient. So no need for a fuel line. Pressure regulator is in the tank. Okay? Now, one major benefit to why we like a returnless type system is because fuel is not returning back to the fuel tank, which means all the fuel that's up here, which is getting warmer, by the way, it's getting hotter, we're not sending hot fuel back to the fuel tank and heating up the gas that's in there. If I heat up my gas, it's more likely to go from a liquid to a vapor, and vapor is gas, and it expands, it pressurizes the gas tank, it can leak and escape. We don't want that. Okay, it's an emissions problem.
How modern is modern for this system?
I would say probably since early 2000s
Okay.
ish. You probably even maybe find it before that in higher end models.
Goddamn.
But like, for instance, all of our vehicles out in the shop are fuel injected. Like the Probe, the Protege, those are a return type system on that. I want to say the Malibu is a returnless system. I haven't really inspected too much, but I'm pretty sure it is. The Intrepid probably is as well. The Grand Am probably is. F-150 should be as well. It's really easy to find out if it's return or returnless because all you do is look for that the pressure regulator. If it's on the fuel rail, you know immediately that's a return system. If you don't see a fuel pressure regulator on the rail, it's returnless. Just due to the fact that you know where it's located at. Okay. All right, again, here's just kind of a real quick picture again of a returnless system. We've got our fuel pump, we've got our pressure regulator inside the fuel tank. By the way, this unit right here with the fuel pump, the fuel pressure regulator, and a whole bunch of other things, that's this. Okay, that's the fuel sending unit. So those group of components all put together, fuel sending unit. Hi, Katie, I'm gonna make a phone call here. You should be taking notes, by the way. All right, again, you might have a fuel filter that's in line with the fuel line. More often than not now on modern day vehicles, that fuel filter has made its way into and part of that fuel sending unit. So the fun part is hey, I need to change out my fuel filter because I've reached 100,000 miles. You are literally removing the entire fuel sending unit and putting in a whole brand new one. Yes, it's more expensive. Yes, you're replacing components that don't need to be replaced. But guess what? Now you have a brand new fuel pump. You don't have to worry about that burning out. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's creating a little bit more waste, but you know that you have good brand new stuff at that point. And you don't have to worry about whatever it is. Okay. So again, here's just a model of a returnless system. One word that I do want you to write down now, which we're going to talk about in the future, is multi-port fuel injection. Okay, that's another distinction in our fuel system, like return and returnless. We've got multi-port fuel injection, and then we have that compared to GDI. Okay. So when we talk about GDI, that's slightly different than multi-port fuel injection. And the question probably might come up saying, well, Mr. Getzke, on modern day vehicles, which one is used more, multi-port or GDI? That's not a very easy answer to give you because both are currently used in modern day vehicles. Even though GDI is kind of the newer kid on the block, there are very, very distinct positives and negatives of both systems, and manufacturers, depending on who the manufacturer is, will choose one of these two systems based off of what they want out of performance and emissions from the
What's in
vehicle.
the higher end cars?
It depends.
Really?
It depends, yeah. All right, but staying with our return and returnless system, here's a comparison of the two. Okay. Again, returnless system, no fuel return line. Okay, so no return line, and the fuel pressure regulators in the fuel tank. Return type system, fuel pressure regulators on the fuel rail, and there is a way for that gas to return back to the fuel tank. So this pressure regulator is proactive, meaning that it's doing it as needed. This one's reactive, meaning that it can only open up to relieve the pressure as it's already happened. So there's no way to prevent stuff on this system. Again, this system's more efficient. That's why we like to go towards this. Okay, what do fuel system problems look like? What can we have? Well, obviously, the real easy one is a fuel leak, whether that's liquid gas or if it's gas vapor. Okay, either leak is bad. It's not good. We don't want to have leaks either way. Okay. Other issues, if we have an inadequate fuel supply, that could cause us to have a lean air fuel mixture. If we have excessive fuel pressure, meaning too much fuel pressure, we could have a rich air fuel mixture. The terms lean and rich are crucial terminologies when discussing fuel and fuel systems, right, Rowan?
Yeah.
I see you're not taking notes.
You don't want your dirt bike
I'm
running.
not even on my phone.
Why is it?
I wasn't gonna even mention your phone, but thank you for not being on your phone. I
Oh,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. I was looking at something else.
All right, I'm gonna spend 5 minutes going down kind of nerd trail for you a little bit, okay? So we're gonna talk about some stuff that you don't need to necessarily write down, but I think it's still important for you to know about because it very much impacts lean and rich and how that happens and what's happening. Okay? Now, if you want to write this stuff down, I mean, by all means, feel free to. But this is not stuff that's going to show up on a test or any test question. We're gonna go to graph class for a second. That's not the greatest. There we go. Okay. This line that I just drew, this S shape, is called a stoichiometric curve. Yeah, I'm not going to spell it for you. Okay. Stoichiometric curve.
Do I need to know that?
Yeah. That term,
know.
stoichiometric curve,
Do I need to know what it's called?
it's like STOIM. Well, I don't even know how to spell it. Okay. Stoichiometric, by the way, is not just exclusive to automotive stuff. It's basically a scientific principle that indicates the ability of a chemical to completely be consumed. That's going to go over your head a little bit. Okay. Turn down the volume. This dot right here, is the perfect air to fuel ratio in order for every internal combustion engine, 4-stroke, in order to operate efficiently.
Is that spring?
Okay? This ratio is 14.7 molecules of air to 1 molecule of gasoline. It's a 14.7 to 1 ratio. Okay?
Gas oil mix or what?
That is your perfect air-fuel mixture. Every engine, every computer on every vehicle is trying to achieve 14.7 to 1 air-fuel mixture. Doesn't matter if you have a turbocharger, supercharger, or naturally aspirated. Doesn't matter. We're always shooting for 14.7 to 1. Okay? Now,
What happens if I do 14.8?
if I increase the amount of air
Ow!
in my ratio, it means that my ratio has now gone lean.
Lane?
Lean. Like, lean.
That's a good description.
No.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that.
If I have less air in my ratio, that means my ratio is now rich. Okay? It's Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs.
Say his
Those
name
are like
again.
all
Steve
billionaires.
Jobs.
Correct, because they're rich. Okay?
Because they played the system.
Here's the fun part. Well, why can't you play the system? Here's the fun part of this entire thing. There is an extraordinarily narrow band that we are working in order for our engine to be able to operate at all. It must be within very close proximity to that 14.7 to 1 ratio. Okay? If we get it too lean, too much air, our engine's actually going to overheat.
Heat through that, so I'll just do it.
Okay, that's a scenario with that. If we get too rich, it means that our fuel does not completely atomize, which is just a big fancy word that means changing from a liquid to a vapor. Because as crazy as this sounds, and you're not going to believe me on this, but it's true, liquid gasoline does not burn. You can literally take a match, put it into a full tank of gas, it will not burn. It will get put out, just like if you were to take a match and put it in water. Okay? Gasoline vapor is what burns and explodes and what's necessary in our combustion engine. So our goal is to take liquid gasoline in our storage tank, bring it up to the engine, and then we have to atomize it, basically spray it into the air, allow that liquid to essentially evaporate or vaporize into the air, and then we put that into the combustion engine, and that's what we can ignite. Okay? If our fuel mixture is too rich, it means not all of the fuel is vaporizing, and there's still liquid gasoline left over. And as we are burning the air fuel mixture that we can, that liquid gasoline is being deposited on the inside of my combustion chamber, and it's kind of like charring. And as you are aware from our ignition system, if you pull a spark plug out and it's carbon fouled, right, that could be an indication that too much fuel is being put into that combustion chamber. Your vehicle is running too rich. That could be one of many different reasons for that happening. But that's what this is all about. Okay? So again, when we come back in here and explain this, fuel system problem, lean and rich, is a problem. We would have to diagnose why that condition is happening and then fix that problem. Okay? And I'm not going to get into that type of stuff because that's a much, much higher level processing than I need out of my Auto 1 students.
That's a 4-cylinder.
Yes, it is.
What?
What time are we out here?
5 minutes.
Oh, good. Okay, we're gonna end with this slide potentially. Maybe the next slide. Okay. Again, our fuel system can be divided up into return or returnless. Our fuel system can also be divided up into essentially fuel storage, right, and fuel injection. I know it says fuel delivery, but that's kind of our fuel storage. Okay, so if I were to take a line here, I could literally draw this car, cut it in half. This section back here is going to be my fuel storage, and then up here is going to be my fuel injection. How it gets from this spot to this spot is kind of part of the delivery system, okay, which is going to be more incorporated into the storage system, okay. Now, just on a side note, obviously we use gasoline as our fuel of choice in internal combustion engines, but you could also have other various types of fuel. For instance, Toyota right now, and I know a lot of other manufacturers are attempting to produce a sustainable fuel that's hydrogen. Okay, the hydrogen, unfortunately, is very usable in our internal combustion engine. The problem is it's the storage of that fuel. Okay, we got to think about, well, if this car gets in an accident, what happens? You don't want it to explode, right? Even our internal combustion engine that uses gasoline, if it gets in an accident, we don't want that fuel to spray out and find an ignition source and all of a sudden combust. That would be bad. So there's a lot more that goes into fuel storage. What's that? Yes, they've made a prototype, and they're pushing that technology because they don't like the electric hybrid stuff. I'm not a huge fan of the electrification of vehicles either, but
You would get a Tesla?
Would you get a Tesla? Would you be caught dead in a Tesla?
I would never be
No.
caught dead in a
Get
Tesla.
real cold hydrogen?
no. The emissions on a hydrogen vehicle is water vapor.
So no
That's
coal?
sick.
Yeah, it is.
Just go to the exhaust pipe. Get your water for the day.
Pretty much.
How much would it cost?
Yeah, right now a lot. Okay,
Like
let's
60
end with
grand.
this. We're gonna talk about gasoline for a second because obviously it's our fuel source.
Yeah.
In addition to leaks of the liquid and vapor and the lean and air fuel mixture, we could have potential issues with the storage of our fuel because if you get gasoline and store it for a period of time, that gasoline will actually end up breaking down and it will not be functional in our vehicle. Yes, it will still burn if you throw it on a fire, but it won't be as combustible as we need it to be in order to use it in the engine. Okay, so that's more often than not, if you know you're going to have a gasoline storage, like maybe for a lawnmower or a snowmobile or whatever, you want to add some additional additives to that to be able to allow it to not break down. Okay, some of those additives would be like Stable, S-T-A-B-I-L, or Seafoam would be another alternative that you could add. Okay, just something to consider. Okay, but if you have bad gas in your tank and you don't drive the vehicle for a long period of time, you try to restart it up, it might not start up just due to the fact that nothing else is wrong outside of the gas went bad. Kind of crazy. Okay, we'll end there for today.